So Barcelona through to the quarter-finals. Let's welcome in more on this, shall we? Ian Dark is with us, as is Luis Garcia. Luis, in the end, Barca getting through, but made hard work of it. Fair enough?
Yeah, they did make hard work of it.
Yeah, I think so.
You could see why Racing Santander might well be promoted into the La Liga next season. I thought they put in a good effort, but as Craig said, what an opportunity. They should have really, a little pass to the right and is a goal. And there were a couple of other incidents, one near the end as well, where they could have equalised. So, yeah, in the end, it looks like a routine win for Barcelona. It wasn't quite a routine win, but, you know, their win streak goes on.
Right, go to Ian Dart this time.
Hey, the people want to hear from Ian. Who wants to hear from Luis? Luis, what do you reckon?
No, I agree. I actually agree very much with Ian. I think that it was a tough game for Barcelona, allowed them to rotate a little bit. It's been a quite few intense games with the Super Cup and El Clásico. So you rotate Rafinha, you rotate Lewandowski, you rotate Pedri, players who are going to be very needed in the rest of the season, giving opportunity to young players who doesn't do the same work. But in the end, it was going through. It was all about that. After what we saw yesterday about Real Madrid being defeated by a second team, a team from the second league, the second division here in Spain. Today was all about going through. They did the job. They did actually a good work during the 90 minutes, keeping the ball, being dominant. But in the end, it was all about the same thing. That highlight the problems with the spaces and when Racing de Santander start bringing and committing players forward. And Barcelona starting creating, giving opportunities when Ferran Torres scored that goal and then the second one. So it was just about getting the job done and going through to the next round.
Another goal for Ferran Torres, Luis, of course, leading the goal scorers for Barcelona so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. And it was Fermin that also is having a fantastic season, the one who was assisting. It wasn't an easy game for Ferran Torres because there were so many players around him. Racing Santander knew about tightening the space into the middle of the park, so it was all the time giving the back to the defense and the goal. And it was one chance that he had in front of the goal, and it was clinical. So once again, Ferran Torres proven to Hansi Flick that he's going to have problems to decide if it's going to be Ferran Torres, the one is starting at the weekend, or it's going to be Lewandowski, who got a few minutes at the end of the game.
Just a reminder, this is an Albacete side who have been rubbish. Haven't won a game since December, struggling in their league, yet they come against Real Madrid and put in a performance of the season, performance of a lifetime, as you heard before. They'd never beaten Real Madrid before.
Got 10 points at home all season.
It's incredible.
I mean, it's just...
Luis, why are you smiling so much? What's up with you? Have you heard a funny joke?
Oh no! I'm not laughing. It's surprising. I mean, I'm not happy when I'm not sad anyway when Real Madrid doesn't win. But definitely, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm trying to address that. But definitely, it wasn't pleasant to see Real Madrid. We want Real Madrid trying to be competitive and delivering good performance and enjoy it. That's why we like football, to see the best players do their best. And definitely, it's not what we've seen so far. But it's not about yesterday, or it's not about the weekend, or it's not about what we've seen of this Real Madrid this season. That we cover every game, and every single game we've been saying the same. This is not a Real Madrid that we enjoy, that we like. It's not a Real Madrid that is composed. It's not a Real Madrid that is played at something. So I'm a little bit surprised why people is right now shocked by the result and talking to Arbeloa like if it's any fault. I think that Real Madrid needs to get together. I think Carvajal is totally right. Now they are rock bottom. They need to put together and think all together to try and push in the same direction if they want to recover and get back into their best.
Few elite dressing rooms at the moment, and probably none. Because Man United are not elite, are they? You know, we're talking about clubs that are in a bit of a era of some turmoil.
Yeah.
But certainly if we're looking at Real Madrid as an elite football club, the most successful in the world, I can't think of a bigger dressing room at the moment that needs a bunch of players with the biggest kick up the backside than this dressing room. No dressing room needs more home truths than this one. It doesn't need soft soap, it doesn't need the arm round, it needs some home truths. And we on the show the other day talked about, I think it was us three, talked about leadership within the dressing room and who could provide that. And we talked about people like, you know, the more experienced players like Militao and Rudiger and Thibaut Courtois and maybe one or two others, but Danny Carvajal was a player that I felt isn't big in stature, but should be big for respect, for the kind of player he is, for the career that he's had, for the kind of defender that he is, with the success that has come with his talent. He's a player to me that could stand up in a dressing room, and he was very honest there. He was the one that said no, it's the players. And it's maybe going to take somebody like him to sit the manager to the side and be the voice. And be the voice in that dressing room and go around and talk to some of these players and say, listen, we just, basically, I've got to be better, you've got to be better, this is not good enough. And if they don't want to listen to seasoned pros, some of the best in the business, like Danny Carvajal, never mind the new manager, maybe they just don't want to listen. But they are a shambles at the moment. They are an absolute shambles. Yeah, he made some changes, but you mentioned it. 17th, Albacete. I mean, Racing Santander, they're top of Segunda. They're trying to get back into La Liga. They got a big game at the weekend. They're a good side. Albacete are not. And as I mentioned, I looked at their home record: 10 games, 10 points. And that's do the maths, a point a game. I mean, it's dreadful. Real Madrid turn up. Yeah. They win because they're not up for the fight. And you could say in that previous Copa del Rey game against a team that I never remember the name.
The T team.
Yes. The producer told me in my ear about 3 minutes ago. And I've already forgotten. They scratched that one out because they had to play Kylian Mbappe, and Andre Lunin had to make a great save at the end. So, yeah. I mean, I almost feel for Arbeloa. It's just such a big job that everything he does in the training ground, everything he says in the dressing room, he doesn't know if that, come a Saturday or a Sunday, is just going to fall on deaf ears. Yeah. And that's the problem.
What's interesting, everything Craig has said is right, Luis, isn't it, regarding a leader in the dressing room like Danny Carvajal. My concern would be, from a Real Madrid perspective, you'd imagine that he's already spoken to the players, considering the downfall that they've had, of course, since winning the Champions League. You kind of feel the trend has been very much down since then, and someone like Carvajal would have stepped up much earlier than, for example, this week.
Yeah, I think that right now it's all about trying to get together, and we all have been, no you damn, but I'm talking figuratively, we all have been in dressing rooms when they have been problems, and the only way of doing this is putting together. And he's totally right about having a man that, even though that he hasn't been involved because of injuries, he's got a big voice and he's very well respected inside the dressing room. It's not about Arbeloa, it's not about Xabi Alonso, it's not about Florentino Perez, the chairman. It's all about what these players can do, because the talent is there. But I think that at this stage, the players has been spoiled. I think they have the thought that because they've been winning without delivering good football, that was going to be the normal thing. We are Real Madrid, we are right there, and with this and this, it's going to be enough to win. And on these days, every single game is going to be difficult, and you have to turn up, and you have to give 100%. If you don't do it, a second team can pull you out of the competition.
They've had quite a few rock bottoms, Shank.
Yeah.
If they haven't bounced or realised they have to work together after those, why is this any different?
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure why Arbeloa is so willing to kind of carry the can. And, well, I understand why he does, but surely he's not to blame here, not just because he's only just fallen into this job, but more to the point, as you mentioned, Dan, there's no question that this is a good team. We saw that 2 years ago under Carlo Ancelotti when Real Madrid won everything. But ever since then, and that's the difference between good players and great players, good teams and great teams. Great teams and great players do it season in, season out. If they don't win it, they're always challenging. And you just don't get that impression from this team and a lot of these players. Now, after Vinicius Jr. missed out on the Ballon d'Or, he put out something on social media about I'm going to do it 10 times over or something of the sort. That's never come to fruition. And I've been one of Vinicius Jr.'s biggest supporters here. Incredible talent under a pressure that most of us cannot imagine. Last season, between Ancelotti and Kylian Mbappe, they carried the can for those disappointments. Now, no Carlo Ancelotti, Kylian Mbappe probably has been the only success story of this season. Yet nobody else from Real Madrid, senior or just talented, has stepped up in a way that you associate with great players and great teams. And that's a big disappointment for me, because I'm not sure how you turn that switch. I'm not sure that there is a switch that a manager can flick. This is something that players are born with and bring to the training ground and to the match field every single time they step on.
Ian?
I think there's a real problem. I think Craig's absolutely right. They really need to take those players a really big look in the mirror. They got that manager sacked. They got Alonso fired. They weren't prepared to do the hard yards to make the adaptations that he wanted. They never really gave him a chance. And I think you saw their attitude in that Guard of Honor incident at the end, where Mbappe waved them off. Oh, no, we're not doing that. They followed Mbappe, not Alonso. So I think it's really quite appalling. I think it's a huge culture problem there. And part of the culture problem is Florentino Perez, who's the president, because he encourages the players really. It's a classic case of player power. And those players know now that they're above the coach, really. And they can outlast the next coach who's appointed as well if they don't like him either. So that's a huge problem. Compare that to where Hansi Flick has Barcelona. You know, they're together as a unit. They're a winning machine. Real Madrid really are a bit of a mess. There's a lot of talented players, but to use the old cliche, they look like characters without a plot a lot of the time.
When Real Madrid are winning, as they have done many, many times, as you well know, when they're winning, because they're on it, because they've been good. And when they're losing, it's everybody else's fault, including the players. It's not their fault. It's the manager, it's the coaches, it's the tactics. Florentino Perez last year, it's the referees. It's everybody else. But when Real Madrid are winning, it's because they're great. And when they're losing, there is no mirrors in the Bernabeu. Nobody's looking at any of them. They're all playing the blame game. And they're all happy for managers to be hired and fired as long as they get the big bucks. They're happy. And they'll drag a performance out every now and again. But it's been crystal clear that the bulk of this group of players don't want to listen to change. They want to do it their way or the highway, and that is going to be the big sort of dilemma going forward. Certainly, you know, going to be intriguing for the neutral, watching it every weekend. Again, I go back to the Ancelotti to Alonso transition. We were sitting here intrigued by what we were going to witness, and in the end it was disappointing. And we're back at the same, opening the same door. This weekend, early kick-off, I believe, on the Saturday.
Yep,
certainly Eastern time, 8 o'clock in the morning. What's it going to be? And that's the intrigue that we have now for Real Madrid. We know what Barcelona are. We know what this Hansi Flick team are. That is crystal clear. They do it their way, and they have done it pretty well in an 18-month period, 2-year period. This Real Madrid side can only turn this around for themselves. And if they don't turn it around, it's not because of the referees, not because of the officials, it's not because of Javier Tebas or La Liga or anybody else. It's on them. And I hope if they don't turn it around, that this huge crowd at the Bernabeu are not going to turn on the manager, but they're going to turn on these players.
Absolutely.
Because it can't keep, certainly from a Madrid perspective, being the manager.
Luis, it's interesting reports in Spain suggesting that Mbappe wasn't fit, but knew that Alonso was going to get sacked if indeed he lost that Super Cup final against Barca. That's why he came out to Saudi Arabia to play. That can't be true, can it?
I'm not a big fan of these kind of speculations and rumors and talks, because what I believe that Xabi Alonso and Kylian Mbappe had a talk. They decided what to do and how it was going to be, and that's how it's done. We're talking about players' power, and I'm sure that if Kylian Mbappe wasn't fit or said I cannot play, he wasn't going to be playing, or he wasn't going to be used during that game. I think everything was part of a talk that he had years before. Even I will say that Xabi didn't want to use Kylian Mbappe because he knew that at some point he's going to be needed, and if you lose Kylian Mbappe at this stage, probably the season is over. But I want to address a little bit about what what the guys were talking about, Hansi Flick and his way and his manner. Small details in big teams are as important as in the small teams. When Hansi Flick decided to bench a player who arrived late, and he was a very important player, people start talking, oh, you have to manage in a better way. And suddenly, weeks after, another player arrived late and he was benched once again. These small details are the one who make the team understand that the manager is the one who has the decision and have the respect. And you have to respect that if you don't get involved in those situations, the problem is later on. When the bad moments arrive is when people start losing their respect. And I think that at some point, that's what happened at Real Madrid.